All right. Welcome out, everybody. Here we are on a Friday, wonderful Friday, a Friday, as we say it. Just making sure we've got all our I's crossed and our T's dotted. And then we are firing this up. All right, we got a bunch of you on Zoom, a bunch of you on YouTube, a bunch of you in Discord. Welcome out, everybody. We're going to run through some onboarding, getting started with Bookmap today. My name is Ryan. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next 30 to 45 minutes as we run through some of the key steps in getting you set up and getting you going inside of getting you going on your Bookmap platform. So. If you are looking to see kind of the steps of configuring some of the basic things and getting your platform off the ground, then you are in the right place. You know, and everybody has their own kind of trading journey. It's been kind of fun here at Bookmap, getting to know some of the other traders and getting to hear their story. I actually started trading in about 2001. Actually early 2001, and it was kind of a weird thing. I just decided one day that I wanted to be a trader. I had a friend who had a little interest in it. We spent a little bit of time talking, and I did some research and got pretty excited about getting involved with it. It was very tough though. The first, I would say 10 years, I spent so much time going to seminar after seminar and reading book after book that all just kind of taught very, very similar things. And they were really just different versions of conventional technical analysis. One of the things that happened to me is in about 2010, I met a mentor of mine who actually had 2 seats on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And he was even on the committee that helped create the S&P 500 futures contract. And one of the things he said to me when he was looking at my trading, I was like, hey, help me out. One of the things that really stuck with me is he said, you're trading backwards. He said, you're not even looking at the whole market. And one of the things that he brought up was, he said, it's very common for retail traders to be missing a lot of information. He said, but it's not your fault. You've really never been exposed to the other side of the market. So he spent a little bit of time exposing me to what, we refer to as the real market, even some of the institutional activity that goes on in the market, but just markets that are the real market, meaning how it's controlled by liquidity and how it's controlled by order flow. I remember him saying how most retail traders only ever see about 5% of the market. And that is that's like navigating blind. It's going to be a very difficult road to go down if we don't get to see the full picture. But he's the one who first introduced me to, like I say, the liquidity side of the market, the real market, and even specifically market mechanics. And Bookmap was really built, when you think about it, to bring that information really to anybody who wants it. Anybody who feels like there's something missing, or they're struggling with consistency, or they just want to trade the right way out of the gate, so they don't have to, do what I did, which was unlearn 10 years of, I guess we could call them bad habits. But we created Bookmap really to level the playing field. You no longer need to work on Wall Street to get access to the real market. One of the things I always like to throw out there is, did you know, right? Fun, did you know? Did you know that the financial markets are governed by the law of supply and demand? This is one thing that I did not know. This was a brand new concept to me when it was introduced to me. It's the law of supply and demand, not the theory of supply and demand. And it simply states, if there's more buyers than sellers, price rises. If there's more sellers than buyers, price will fall. And another interesting did you know is that I was looking for the exact stats on this, and situationally they can be very, very different. But on average, institutions control roughly 80% of the market liquidity. And this was an article just a few months ago by legalclarity.org, and it was reviewed by FINRA and a bunch of other groups. But did you know that they control roughly 80%? And that's an important thing to remember. They control 80% of the market liquidity, and retail traders like you and I, we only control about 20%. One of the things this is important to remember, one of the reasons this is important to remember is because if they control 80% of the market liquidity and we are on the wrong side of the market, meaning the institutions are buying and we're selling, it's a lot like standing in front of this truck that you see right here. Right? So they are a massive, massive body moving through these markets. Bookmap has been designed to help you align with order flow, not fight order flow. Back in 2024, Goldman Sachs was profitable. This is a report right from their annual report. But Goldman Sachs was profitable 93% of the time. With 62 days, they made over $100 million a day. So when you think about it, when participants inside of a marketplace that's controlled by supply and demand control, let's call it the institutional group, control 80% of the liquidity, and they're this consistently profitable, trading against them is not a strategy. It's one of the most costly mistakes that we could make. How's that on the audio side in Discord? Did I fix that? All right, we got you guys on Discord. That was a human error there. I was still muted in Discord. So welcome Discord group. To get you guys kind of caught up pretty quickly, I was just going through a couple of the basic mechanical side of things. One of the most important things is that you remember that 80% of the market is controlled by institutions, 20% by retail traders. And this is how consistent, this is just an example of how consistent institutions are. So Bookmap was designed to align you with order flow. This market's controlled by supply and demand. And so Bookmap's been designed to align you with order flow, because if we're going against order flow, it's like going against this truck here. Right? If the institutions are buying, big order flow is buying, and we're selling, that's going to be a very, very painful situation for us. But Goldman Sachs here, last year they were 93% profitable. I always go through and dig out their annual report and pull this stuff. I've got years and years. We could go through the last 10 years of it, but for the sake of time, I figured I'd show you 2024. We'll get their 2025 numbers in about April. Now, Bookmap is like being able to see what the smartest kid already knows, right? We're able to track the order flow. We're able to see what's going on. It's not about predicting the future. It's about following the leader. Now, my mentor, when he traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, he used to tell stories about sneaking into the clerk's offices. Before everything was electronic, they would go and they would sneak into the clerk's offices and they would try to find where the big stacks of buy orders were that they were going to fill that day and where the big stacks of sell orders were that they were going to fill that day. And I always imagined that their desk would look something like this. And down here, you have this big stack of buy orders at 71. You have a big stack of sell orders at 79. And if an independent trader could get back there, they could see that big stack of buy orders and that big stack of sell orders. And the thing that they would or what that would allow them to do is they would be seeing the low for the day and the high for the day before the market ever even opened up. And so now they could go in and they could wait for price to come down, and they could buy when the institutions buy, and then they could wait for price to go back up, and they could just start selling when the institutions sell. Because what happens is not all of these orders will be able to get filled. Some of them will be able to get filled, and then the leftover orders, because there's no sell orders to pair it with, is actually what propels them higher. And the market goes and looks for that liquidity. The market moves towards open liquidity. The same thing up here. Once it hits this big stack of sell orders, some of these will be filled, and these unfilled orders will actually push price down. And so as a floor trader, they would just go out and they would wait. They would wait for price to get up to an area where supply exceeded demand from an institutional standpoint, and they would just trade along with the institutions. So order flow is king. Order flow controls the market. Now, this is the type of chart that I traded on for the first 10 years of my trading. Basic conventional technical analysis. It shows us price. It shows us averages of price. It shows us averages of averages, right? There's a lot of different things that it shows us on here. But what it doesn't show is it doesn't show us order flow. It doesn't show us where did the orders take place. Were they aggressive orders? Were they passive orders? How did they interact with each other? So there's a lot of information that we have that we're missing here. In fact, it's about 95% of the market doesn't appear on this chart because this really is just historical transactions and averages and interpretations of those. The real market is actually hidden behind candlesticks. And that type of information is professional grade information, and it is not given away. One of the reasons it's not given away is the last thing that institutions want is for people to see order flow. One of the reasons they don't want you to see order flow is if you could identify where they were buying and where they were selling, you now become competition. Now, I'm not going to put Goldman Sachs out of business. It's not competition like that. But when we're in the same marketplace trying to buy the same contracts or the same shares or the same currencies at the same prices, we are technically competing over what is available. right? So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's exactly what we've created Bookmap and the heat map for. And so the heat map shows you where orders are waiting to be filled in real time, just like the clerk's desk. This helps you stay on the right side of liquidity. The red and the green dots, those are the volume dots. That shows us, that's where we actually track the more aggressive trades. Inside of those dots are where different market orders live, and like where the algo traders are being tracked in there. And so slowly, as you get more comfortable with Bookmap, and even in here in Bookmap Academy and some of the different courses that we have on our Discord channel, you'll start to see how that aggressive liquidity and how the passive liquidity works together and how they interact with each other. But Bookmap essentially ends up being your candlesticks for, your X-ray machine for candlesticks. Now, I want to jump into launching Bookmap with you guys and downloading it. You've probably done some of this already, but you want to go into bookmap.com, hit your login button, right? Hit your login button and start getting your download going. Once you have your download, or when you're on your download page, you're going to select your system, and then you're going to select your product version. On the product version, just select production. Sometimes we'll have an alpha, beta. We'll have different programs in there that we're working on. Just select that production, that production side of it. Next thing that we want to do is make sure that you are fully connected. Once you have your download going, make sure that you are completely set up. And when you click that download button, let me back up to it real quick. When you do click that download button, it is going to give you that classic kind of pop-up in the right corner of your window. And you're going to go through installing just like you're installing any other program. And then you're going to launch it, and it will pop open Bookmap for you. And it takes about maybe 30 seconds to do all of that. Now, when you're logging in and getting everything set up, one of the first things that you also want to do is make sure that you have the right subscription to Bookmap. Depending on what you're going to be trading, you want to have the appropriate subscription. So if you're not quite sure what you're on, you can always go to the top of your platform. I'll show you where that is in just a little bit, and you can see which subscription that you have. You can also do it here inside of the portal, but you're going to make sure you have the appropriate subscription. If you came in on like a digital or a digital plus membership, you're trying to trade like the ES, you're not going to have that access. That's more just like that the crypto side of things. And so if you're trading futures, you're going to want to get up onto that global or that global plus level. And you can see they have monthly and then discounts for doing an annual membership in here as well. So make sure, number one, that you have the right platform, and all the descriptions of the different platforms, right on the homepage. It'll show you everything that goes along with each one of them. And then on top of that, you want to make sure that you have the right data feeds set up, right? This is professional grade data that's coming to you. This takes you into the real market and allows us to present that full market depth. But in here, again, if you want to get the right feed for what it is you're going to be trading. I generally do most of my stuff on CME. You can use the CME bundle. Trading mainly the ES for me, but if you're trading something else, you want to make sure that you have the right Bookmap data for the vehicles that you're trading. There's a bunch of different data options. I was just talking about the Bookmap ones, but you've got DX feed. You've got some of you may already have Rhythmic and things like that, and so I'll show you where you can sign into some of that stuff if you already have data feeds as well. So logging into Bookmap. Again, you will have probably gone through this, but you did the little download. In your downloads, you got that button. You can pop that open. You can start to run the installer. The installer will go, and then eventually you'll get to this screen here. I always recommend starting on simulated trading, right? I always recommend to start on simulated trading, especially if you're new to Bookmap. No matter what, anytime I've switched platforms or gotten onto a new platform, I always start off with the simulated trading mode to make sure that I get a good understanding of how to use the platform before I start to put any money at risk, right? So make sure you get into that simulated mode and start practicing. I always like to say, practice. Everybody learns a little bit differently, but go in and do 3, 4, 5 trades and get really comfortable with it in the simulator mode before you switch over into the live mode. So sim mode, this is where you're not exchanging any real money, right? This is simulated money. You can still do it on live data though. Trading mode is where you've now connected it to your own trading account, right? And it can now execute trades for you as well. Replay mode is something that is really awesome. So when you have it on replay mode, this is when you're going back through an old file and you're actually replaying that data. And so when you're down here and you're recording live data, right, you're actually able to save your trading sessions. So you can go through, you can trade all morning long and record that. And then at the end of the day, you can go back and re-watch your trading session. This ends up creating a level of accountability, right? So you can go back through and make sure you were trading and following your own trading plan and that you were following your rules. And you'll be able to see at points maybe where you deviated from your position management process or something like that. Depending on how detailed your trading approach is, you can go back and say, okay, well, I lost on this trade, but did I follow my plan? And it's like, well, no, I actually moved my stop to break even or whatever it was. You'll find this will help you find any rules that you're violating. It'll also help you watch more from an objective chair on what's happening in your trades to help you optimize your trading plan. Logging into Bookmap. When you first log in, you should have, Apple, the ES. You should have some. Seeing if I have some questions. I'll jump to the questions as soon as I get through this. But it looks like Dan's on top of them in the chat. Thank you, Dan. But so when you launch Bookmap, you're usually going to have a few symbols that are already live in there. I've stripped all of that out just so if you ever went through a reset, if you closed all those out for some reason and you needed to start over, this is what it could potentially look like. But generally when you open it, you're going to have a few symbols already live. One of the first things that we want to do is go up to our connections and make sure that we have something, that we have our platform connected. The first thing that we want to do is hit this configure button, right? This configure button is going to pop open our window where we can add or remove a platform. In this case, it is adding a platform. We're going to add the Bookmap data into this into our interface here. And so we're going to scroll through this list. We're going to find Bookmap and we are going to hit that install button right there. Right? Once we've installed it, we'll hit OK. And then at the top of your list, you'll start to see that it has now been installed. You have a bunch of other things down here, but this is the first one, is make sure that we get our Bookmap data installed. Once you see it up there as an installed product, then we just click that OK button. We want to add a connection, right? So make sure that our Bookmap data is connected to our Bookmap servers, and in here we are going to make sure that we're just selected on the server side of things on auto. There's a bunch of different regions that you can go in and manually select, but if you select on auto, it's going to geo-target you to the closest servers to make sure that you have the fastest data connections. Now up here, I mentioned there's a few other data feeds and a few other places that you can connect Bookmap. You can see in there interactive, rhythmic, Binance, there's a few DX feeds right in there, so you can add additional data platforms or connect additional data platforms right in there. Just going to stick on the Bookmap one for today, but that's a spot where you can go in and connect into some of your other providers. I'm going to go ahead and hit our OK button, and I always like to come back to the connections tab up here to make sure that my connection and my platform are selected, because sometimes it doesn't automatically select if I'm setting it up brand new. And so you just check that box and now all of a sudden our lights will start to turn on. Now it didn't magically just come alive because I need to select a vehicle to analyze. And so I'm going to click this plus symbol up here and open up our subscription window. So the subscription window is what data do we want to populate on the screen, right? What data do we want to populate on the screen? In here, I'm given the example of a stock on NASDAQ, it's Apple, right? Once we start typing it in, it's going to give us all sorts of things to choose from. Or we go in and say, you know what? I want to trade the ES. And so you can see we've selected futures on the CME and the ES, and then we hit that subscribe button. Now for me, one of the things that was interesting the first time I ever went to launch a Bookmap chart was this button, subscribe. I was like, what do you mean subscribe? And as I've talked with the developers and I've gotten to be a lot closer with the people at Bookmap, they're like, oh yeah, that just means launch. But in the beginning, I remember I was like, I already subscribed to Data. I already subscribed to the platform. Now what am I subscribing to? But it is just, you are now presenting the data that you are requesting. In here, you can also select your a few other things. You can select how much historical data you like to populate on your chart. This is generally the maximum that you'll be able to pull, is about 7 days on here. I usually go to the 7 days is what I default to. Some people default to 24 hours or 48 hours. You kind of find that spot that you really like. I generally go to 7 days just because I like to go back and like see where we are in the last week. It gives me a little more information, even though it won't all be a part of my trade. And a tick size. And so the ES defaults to a tick size of 25 cents. These are the increments that it's going to move. And why this is important is if you're trading something like Bitcoin, you would want to take it to like $1 or something like that. You know, something that's trading at like 90,000. You'd want to adjust your tick sizes so that it didn't just so your charts just didn't just go crazy. But right in here, I'm just going to leave it at my default 25 cents for the ES. Size granularity 1, and I'm going to hit the subscribe button, and then that will begin to populate my chart, right? So this will load up your chart, and you'll start to see your you'll start to see your order book over here, and then this will all start to populate. I took screenshots of it, so we never had to deal with anything actually loading or anything like that, but this will slowly start to populate. Now, one of the things that I really like to do, and I traded on Thinkorswim for a really, really long time, and so I think this probably comes from my Thinkorswim days. But one of the things that I like to do is come over to this side and go to the depth of market, and then I just add the default columns. And what this gives me is it gives me the bid and the ask, and it gives me a couple of display columns on where my buy and sell orders are. And so I can trade right from these columns right here. I just click on them, and it'll submit orders for me. So it's really, really fast. Now, yeah, and like I said, I was on Thinkorswim forever, and they had the active trader platform, and so it was very, very similar. So this was a very easy transition for me. A lot of my friends prefer to trade right on the chart. You can trade right on the chart. Like Bruce is the chief of education here. He's probably forgotten more about liquidity and order flow than I've even ever learned. He's just completely brilliant. I'll show you some of the classes that he teaches in a minute. So after this, when you really want to step your game up, you want to make sure that you're in some of those experiences with Bruce that are all broadcasted on Discord. But Bruce loves to trade off the chart. So you can do it either way. But yeah, you can trade off the chart, you can trade on like the depth of market view here. Before you ever trade though, one of the things you have to do is you have to turn your trading panel on. Over here, it always comes as a default as off, and you want to make sure that you turn that on. And so here you can see you can choose depth of market, or you can trade on the chart. I always just select both so that no matter what, I can go in and just trade with however I want. Even though I primarily do it on depth of market, you just go ahead and select both, and it'll turn on your trading console. The next thing is you have to make sure you have a quantity selected. You have to make sure you have a quantity. It's going to default to 0. And so you have to make sure that it's on and that you have a quantity selected. So once we put a quantity in there, now we're able to come over and just click on and create a sell order, or click on and create a buy order. Once you do select an order, it's going to put it on your chart, right? So you'll be able to manage it from the chart. You'll be able to manage it from the depth of market. You'll be able to manage it from either place, but it'll automatically put it on the chart. Now, the other thing that it's going to do, which is really, really cool with Bookmap, is as you move, let me see, I was going to draw this out for you guys. As you move your stop orders or your limit orders, as you move them, it will actually track them. So if I had a limit order right here and I moved it up, it'll actually draw a line and it'll map that out, right? So you'll actually be following, you'll be able to see exactly where you moved things and what the price was doing at that point in time. Very, very valuable in that replay mode so that you can go back and you can watch how you actually traded that scenario. How did you manage it? Did you follow your process? It makes everything very, very visual, Everything that's been put in place in Bookmap and what we're constantly working on is how can we make it so it's easier for traders to be successful. And so that, combined with the review, with the recording part of it, is a huge tool that allows you to be self-accountable. But again, very easy to overlook and go, oh yeah, it's really cool that I can see where my orders were. Now, why is that important? Well, because now we can go back in the recordings and you can see what was going on. Because when you're in the heat of battle, when you're trading, the heart rate's up a little bit, right? The financial stress of, oh, I made a little money, oh, I lost a little bit of money's there. But when you're going back through the recording, you can very objectively review and grade your performance for that day. Now, the other thing is the Resource Center. So if you go back to the portal, a place where I would really encourage you to spend a lot of time is on this Education tab. We have a lot going on in here in Discord, but then under the Education tab, one of the first things that you should do is go to the Getting Started videos. Inside of the Getting Started videos, we scratch the surface of it in here because we try to do 30 to 45 minutes of just getting you up and getting you going, why Bookmap's important, some of the key features of it in here. But as you can see in here, downloading and installing Bookmap, it starts with some of the things that we've already done, but then goes way deeper. Bookmap data, adding features, stock symbols, all the way into the 3 elements of the chart: volume, dots, display, clustering, filtering, heat map overview. There's so much in here. Everybody needs to go through every single one of these videos. They're only like 2 minutes long each. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, and they are paramount, right? Understanding what you're looking at is paramount. This is generally, for most traders, when they come into Bookmap, we're now showing you a completely different side of the markets, and it's not hard to understand, and it's not hard to get used to, but it is new, right? And anything new takes a little bit of time and takes a little bit of repetition. Once you get through the getting started, right? Once you get through the getting started, a great place to go is down into these market mechanics lessons. These are led by Bruce, and these are phenomenal, where he's able to go through and break everything down on the charts, how they interact. This is about 4 hours worth of content that in my mind should probably be a $2,000 course. But we're not a school. We are a trading platform, and this is designed to make it so you can navigate the markets and navigate the platform even better. And it is just a phenomenal course to go through. It's about 4 hours long, so if you need to break it up, that's great. But you can see there's 4 different sessions in here. But make sure you get through this course. This is going to elevate your game in the market substantially. Once you get through the market mechanics side of things, your next step is to make sure that you have joined the community. I see we've got 14 of you here in Discord. We've got half a dozen over in Zoom. I don't know how many are watching us on YouTube, but for everybody who's not in Discord yet, make sure you get into our Discord community, right? So make sure that you're going in, you're clicking on Discord. It'll take you over to our Discord channel. If you don't have a Discord login, it'll help you create all of that. And then you'll be connecting with Dan to get verified on our Discord server. And this is where a lot of the magic happens. And so, like I say, we were able to announce to the group, hey, we've got an onboarding session, and they just logged right in through Discord. This morning at about 8:30, we had a futures room go live with Tom, and I got the alert right on my phone. It's like, hey, we're going live. And there's all sorts of different resources, courses, and community support that goes on in Discord. And so if you're not in Discord yet, make sure that you get set up on our Discord server. This is, like I say, where you'll get all the live alerts for anything going on. This is where we could say this is where the magic happens, I guess we could say. This is a very important part as far as community updates and alerts and notifications and everything like that. So I know a bunch of you are already on here, but in case you hadn't got set up yet, make sure you take the time to get the Discord connection. So right here, there's 28 events that you can see at the very, very top. If I click on one of those, once you get through your market mechanics and once you get through your getting started, the next thing to get registered for is our all market analysis sessions. These are led by Bruce. They are every Friday, every Monday, and every Tuesday. And so as you can see, first one I have up is the Friday session. This second one I have up is the Tuesday session, and then here is the Monday session. When you click on that events tab, you just scroll down and you'll find, and there's a bunch of other sessions in here, but make sure you scroll down and you find all 3 of these. Click on interested so that you get the alerts for them, and make sure that you start attending those as regularly as you possibly can, so that you stay on top of everything that is going on inside of our financial markets. We're going to be talking a lot about order flow. If you have some very in-depth questions on something that's going on, about anything that's happening in the market, that's a spot where we'll be able to review it for you. If you have any, I would say, higher level questions, that's a great place to go in. You get direct access to Bruce, and he's able to answer questions and go through examples and everything like that with you guys. And so that is one of the greatest support resources that you'll have for anything that comes up that you have a question on. You can go in there, and Bruce is able to field those and work with you through any of your processes. And again, it's a live session. It's 3 times a week. Inside of Discord, though, you'll also see all the other sessions in there with Tom, and you'll see them all inside of that events tab, and you'll find the ones that are best fitting for your trading style. But make sure you're on these 3, and then find the 1 or 2 that really kind of match with what you're trying to do as well. I'm going to jump over real quick and look at some questions here. One of the things that I wanted to show you guys, and we have time, I'm going to take about 5 minutes before I jump into questions, and I want to show you something that that popped up in my life about 12 years ago. But one of the things that I started to do with some of my trades, and so if you're newer to trading, this will probably really help you. If you have a little bit of experience, you maybe have already kind of discovered this. But when you're trading, I really like to map out my trades, right? And I like to have my stop, I like to have my entry, and I like to have my target all mapped out, right? I really like to plan it out before I get into the trade. And one of the things that I like to plan this out, like 25 years ago, I was told that I needed to have a 3-to-1 reward risk ratio as a bare minimum in my trading. And the reason I needed to have that is so that I could lose $100 or make $300. Lose $100 or make $300, lose $100 or make $300. And then if you lose, win, you can still be, profitable with a 33% win percentage, because I've got minus 200 plus 300 equals a positive 100. And I was sitting in a trading group. Where was I? I might have been in Colorado somewhere. And they said, this instructor said, "Hey, you'll never go broke taking profit." And I remember him saying that, and the context around it, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. But I remember thinking how cool that was. And then for the next 10 years, I slowly went broke taking profit. Because if your profits aren't big enough to offset your losses, then you'll slowly go broke taking profit. It doesn't matter that you're taking profit, right? You'll slowly go broke taking profit if they're not big enough. And so one of the things that I stumbled upon one day was this: account risk divided by position risk equals position size, a little formula. And so position risk would be the difference between my entry and my stop, right? This would be my position risk. And my account risk is predetermined. So if I have a $10,000 account and I want to risk 1%, that's $100. So what I was doing in the beginning is I was trading 100 shares at a time, or I was trading one contract at a time, right? I had a fixed position size. So if I'm trading 100 shares of something that has $1 worth of risk, well, that's minus 100. And at a 3-to-1 ratio, that's $300. And if I was trading something that had 50 cents worth of risk, that's $50, and that's $150. And maybe I was trading something that had $10 worth of risk. Well, that's now $1,000 and $3,000, right? And so when you look at this, what can happen is you could actually go in and you could win, and lose. You could be right 66% of the time, but because your wins weren't large enough to offset your losses, you were slowly going broke taking profit. And this is with twice the win percentage, right? Twice the win percentage, and this one is profitable, and this one is not profitable. But if you use this down here, account risk, which is $100, account risk divided by position risk, if this was 10, 9, and 13, right? Divided by position risk, that's 1. That equals 100 shares, right? And so if this is a 3 to 1, then that makes it minus 100 plus 300. And I'm going to show you how Bookmap does this for you, right? When I first started working with Bookmap, this was something that was so exciting because of how important this formula is right here, right? Because then if we're trading the other one, what was this, 50 cents worth of risk? So account risk is $100 divided by 50 cents worth of risk. That equals 200 shares. And if it's 3 to 1, then 200 times that is 100, right? And then it's a positive 300 if it was 3 to 1. And then the other one was 10, right? The other one was $10, which was this one here. So we take account risk divided by position risk equals position size. 10 shares times our $100 is negative 100 and positive 300. So now the fact that the risk amounts per trade were different, the price of the stock or whatever, the future, whatever it was we're trading was different, doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. Now we can still lose, win, and we can still be net profitable. That'd be minus 200 plus 300. But it's all because of our position sizing, right? It's all because of our position sizing. And position sizing to me is one of the things where if somebody is doing it wrong, I just wish them the best of luck because I feel like now that's really what you're relying on. Now, inside of your Bookmap platform down here on the bottom, one of my favorite things is these bracket orders, because once your trade goes live, if you have these connected, then you will be able to automatically place a stop and automatically place a target based on the ratios that you want. So if I'm trading the ES and I know it's 25 cents per tick and every 25 cents is worth $12.50, which is $50 a point, and I only want to risk, let's say $100, well then that means I'm only going to be able to risk 2 points. It's 25 cents per tick, which means that's going to be 8 ticks. 8 times 3 is going to be 24. And so I would have these be an 8 and I would have these be a 24. Right? Right now I have them as a 10 and a 30 on this, but just to walk you through the math, if you were risking $100, it would be 8 and 24 as the example. But now you can pre-bake that into your platform so that when you are trading, you don't have to like go and calculate it, because if you're trading the ES, you're trading the NQ, you're trading something like that, you can already figure out what the math is on that and let Bookmap take care of it from there. And with all of that, you know what your position size, could be. So now you can keep them all in balance based off your win percent. And then when you're going back, if you're just starting based on your win percentage, you can then go calculate what type of ratios you have to run in order to run a profitable business. All right, I like to call that my little bonus session because I remember stumbling upon that about 15 years ago, and it was a game changer for me once I started doing my position sizing right. I had a friend of mine, Jeff, look through my trading journal one day, and Jeff was like, "Why are these all different?" And I'm like, "Well, they're all different prices." And he's like, "That doesn't matter. That shouldn't matter." I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, they're all different prices. They're all different trades. They're all 3 to 1. And he's like, if they're different, 3 to 1 doesn't matter. If you're not doing your position sizing right, your risk to reward ratios are almost useless. When we balance them out, we start to have the law of averages work with us on our side of things. All right, I'm going to flip through these questions real quick, see what else I can help you guys with before we let you go. But for those of you that are going to be just jumping out now that we're wrapping up, have a wonderful Friday. See you on Discord in a future event. And may all your trades be green. So I am going to jump through questions and see if there's anything else. But everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And we will talk very, very soon. Oh yeah, I'm just reading questions. I'm just making. I'm just reading through questions to make sure that that we're answering everything. So sorry, I'm just being quiet right now. I've got all the different interfaces that I'm trying to go through the questions on. Um, I'm intently reading. I see a hand raised over on the Zoom side of things too. If you want to go ahead and throw that into just the Q&A side, I'll jump on it for you. And Bruce, I see there you just responded right with Kaz. If you want to take that one, I've got a few on Zoom that I'm wrapping up. All right. Okay, I'm not muted. And so you've got the trader map, the trader map light. When I open a new chart, it only shows the heat map for previous 30. Oh, Bruce is on. I was Bruce beat me to it. You're my I was just coming back to Discord. I saw that one was spending. There you go. Bruce beat me to it. All right, I think that's it for our questions in here. Again, for anything that you want to get into on a deeper level, make sure that you're registering for those all market analysis courses. That is a great spot to go in. Yeah, if you okay, so I see your question in there is you need the help deciding the right connection for me, and you can even go right onto the website and we have the chat bot there, or not the chat bot, it's live chat, and put in what you're going to be trading and ask our support group, and they'll send you all the links to get you connected to the right connection. But again, once you're in, a great place to get access to more in-depth information is make sure that you are registering for the sessions with Bruce that I shared with you. They're right in Bookmap, are all market analysis sessions. I don't believe so. I'd have to check on how the plugin works, but I was like, I don't think that you can do that. Thanks, Bruce. Bruce chimed in on that one too. But yeah, make sure that you register for the all market analysis. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for jumping in with us today. Make sure you register for the all market analysis once you get your other kickoff stuff done. You're getting started and your market mechanics. Get registered for these as well. And as you're having as you're taking that deeper dive, this is a great place to get supported in there. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It looks like we've cleared through the questions, and we will see you all. We'll see you all in a live all market analysis session with Bruce soon. Have a great, wonderful weekend.